thanks, Amir, for organizing. I want to talk about some of the proactive things that we can do, and I'll get to the unicorn part of CyberArk maybe a little bit, but more about what we do and what we're facing out there. What we can do in not wake up in the morning and think that the battle is lost, but what are some of the proactive controls that we can put in place to counter what we call attacker innovation. You've heard a lot of examples of what they are. I chose to put positive headlines. There's too much headlines and too many that starts with that you see pictures of a virus and everything we've been going through the last couple of years. I think there's some trends that are here to stay that we're actually benefiting from for our society. The work from home, the hybrid environments, the acceleration of digital adoption. And even the increased awareness and funding that's coming from the government in response to attacker innovation. At CyberArk, when we look at the world and how it's changing, we also saw that identity is changing. You all have your various identities. That's the identity of the workforce that's working remotely. There's your identity as consumers. There's machines with identities talking to each other and exchanging information. And it's all now have become a multiplier effect because identities have sprawled. They're no longer just in concentrated work and home, but actually identities have proliferated from cloud environments, DevSecOps environments, OT. Each machine has its own identity, and it creates a multiplier effect on this world. Big change from the last couple of years. And we all feel it as consumers. And of course, as many spoke before me, the attackers have also jumped on the trends of digital transformation and innovation, and they spend a lot. They actually sit in well-funded environment, many of them, whether they're nation states or criminal organizations, investing in innovation. Some examples we're seeing is more and more harvesting or buying of zero-day attacks to make it in, to make that first entry into an organization. There's weaponizing of vulnerabilities to create a long tail on the attack. The classic example was the SolarWinds attack that was supposed to be there for a while, be planted and be used for a long period of time. But we saw a recent attack on Twitch, on the video service, where basically source code was stolen to be able to serve the attacker later on. So a long tail for the attack. We see more use of attacking based on user errors. That has been done for many years, but now attackers are also triggering users to make that mistake that will serve as the error that will serve them for a long period of time. And I think, as was mentioned several times before, it's become an industry where there's more operationalization of the attack. There are different roles. There's malware as a service. There are different roles in the attacks. Even a ransomware has an operational somebody with a joystick basically running the ransomware and running sophisticated attacks, and we see that more and more every day. It's not just a drive-by type of attack, but more planned and operated. And I think the biggest evolution in this industry has been in the last couple of years with an assume breach approach, where most organizations moved from, oh, it won't happen to me. They're just going after the financial organizations, or they're going after governments, and so that's a great development. I want to talk about assume identity. The fact that the identities are really the source of many of the triggers for the attacks. If you take the pipeline attacks, it was a VPN and an unmanaged identity there. If you look at some of the biggest sources of how the attacks propagate, it's leveraging credentials and credential theft and moving laterally until the attacker makes it to the destination that they want. So every organization really has to figure out what identities do they have under management. Where are they? How do we find them, and how do we leverage them to run our business, but not keep them prone to the attacker? So what can be done here? I think on number one, on the public-private collaboration, I think this event is a great example of what's going on. You saw the Cyber Authority of Israel here, Igal Una, and the speakers from the U.S. government. The collaboration I would say, on the right track. With the recent executive order, governments have become more proactive and prescriptive on what can be done to think about a real attacker and not just on compliance. And I think within the private sector, we're integrating and doing much more collaboratively. CyberArk has over 200 partners in what we call our C-Cube Alliance of integrations as we work together, because we really believe it's a team sport. Number two is really embracing zero trust and embracing an identity security first approach related to zero trust, where you trust nothing and you verify everything in this complex environment. Our mission at CyberArk is really to create a modern identity security platform that is centered on privileged access management, really securing the keys to the kingdom, those keys that in the hands of the attacker give full access to everything, things that we've seen in breaches like the SolarWinds, but also historic breaches like Sony, where if you have administrative access, you can do everything, you can turn off security controls. But with identity security, we're also an enabler. We're enabling business to adopt digital transformation, to allow their workforce to work remotely, to allow vendors to have just-in-time and right access to the systems they need to do. So identity security really provides the two sides of the coin, a proactive security layer, but also an enablement layer to live our modern, secure and connected lives. We've invested a lot. CyberArk has through innovation and through strategic acquisition, really expanded our identity security platform to cover human access and how humans are accessing information systems on all sorts of environments, on-premise and hybrid and cloud, but also machine-to-machine access or non-human access. How do we manage credentials and secrets that machines need in order to authenticate each other and keep businesses moving, and doing that across platforms? We've expanded to cover workforce employees, remote vendors, and of course, those most privileged IT and other users, and to discover the privileges and put them under control in all sorts of environment, including DevSecOps and cloud. We've invested a lot in innovation, and that's what really is important for this industry. CyberArk has over 120 patents. We basically created the privileged access management space, and where we couldn't innovate on our own, we also made strategic acquisitions to complement them, really leveraging our large cybersecurity center and research center in Israel, but now we have R&D here in the US, and also in other centers around the world, always thinking about how our attackers moving and what's the most impactful thing we can do to mitigate that. And then back to a little bit to, I've never been put under the unicorn in a conference, but CyberArk is a real company that we actually went public here in New York 7 years ago. And the reason we went public is because customers told us, hey, privileged access management, identity security is mission critical to us. We want you to be around. We want you to be able to cover all of our use cases and really expand with us. So we put a lot of years into global access. We're in over 100 countries, and really innovating, investing in the things that the customers care for. And we have more than 7,000 customers around the world, more than half of the Fortune 500 and over 35% of the Global 2000. So kept it real as in the journey to make an impactful layer of security for our customers. And so that's a glimpse into us. I really appreciate that the conferences are back here together, and I look forward to many years of building this tight ecosystems of public, private, and innovative vendors. Thank you.